Well, we're here tonight because of our motto, peace on earth, peace with earth, because we believe that we can't achieve environmental harmony without achieving international peace and vice versa. The worst thing for the environment is war, and again, the reverse is true. So as a result, we are a peace organization that it is building tight bonds with the environmental movement. And we're hoping that will be a two-way street so that our movements converge. We are obviously as upset as you are about recent events, which I call the Trumpocalypse. And I remember when Reagan was elected, it was not such a shock, but it was horrible nonetheless. And everyone got so frightened about the potential of a nuclear war that it launched the nuclear freeze movement, as you may recall. So I think we can expect things like that to happen. The more dangerous the situation, the larger the alliance becomes to try to block it. So I'm looking forward to working with a lot of people that we haven't worked with before. Tonight we have some really special guests I'd like to introduce before we go any farther, which is, first of all, Phoebe Chatfield, a junior at Ezra Stiles College at Yale, and an important voice as part of Fossil Free Yale.
I don't know if I deserved any of that intro, but...
Yeah, I just lost two of them already. If you go like that.
All right, yeah, as said, I'm Phoebe. I'm a junior in Yale College. It's such a pleasure to be here with all of you, and an honor to be helping to welcome Christian Parenti. I can say personally that the timing of this feels pretty significant as we prepare for an unpredictable right-wing regime. So it's especially meaningful to have Parenti here as a scholar, journalist, and author who's been renowned for his abilities to depict the world as it is now and the realities that we don't often want to face, and also the world as it could become, hot, violent, and unequal, as he's been saying. So Parenti has a vision for that world, but also I think what's super valuable in this moment is his vision for the sorts of movements and organizing that we need right now to try to muster the energy and the ability to stop sort of what's coming. So I'm sure you'll have all the answers for us tonight. I'm an organizer myself. I'm here representing Fossil Free Yale, which is the student branch of the fossil fuel divestment movement. We've been working for the past 3 or so years to politicize Yale's money and to get that money out of investments in the corrupt and violent fossil fuel industry. So now more than ever, we're trying to think about which institutions like Yale, like the city of New Haven, we can really mobilize. We need all hands on deck right now to face the climate crisis. So I hope you'll join us if you're interested. And already I've been really glad to be in this post-election moment, kind of involved in the different mobilizations happening to stand up for immigrants in New Haven, to stand with Standing Rock, who need our solidarity. But I know that it's going to take a lot more than these like local organizing efforts to really stop climate catastrophe and international conflict and the increased forces of militarization. So I'm extremely grateful to be co-sponsoring this and excited to have Parenti with us tonight to give his perspective. So thanks so much.
Phoebe mentioned Dr. Parenti's books, so I wanted to show you that we have those for you tonight to get autographed. And in fact, we are offering for a $20 payment, you get a membership in PEP plus a $20 book. So, what a deal. I'd like to now introduce to you Mary Tomasetti, the Executive Director of the Tree of Life Educational Fund, a project of a very powerful and on the leading edge organization called First Congregational Church of Old Lyme. She is just back from leading a 3,500-mile anti-racism tour that stretch from Connecticut to Charleston to Memphis, where all those fires are, actually. Interesting. In September, she, along with 2 fellow members of her church, drove out to Standing Rock with a van load of supplies for their Lakota friends after receiving a call for help. And we'd like her to talk with us about that.
Hello, and thanks for being here. From what I understand, there was a lot of choices down Temple Street, so I'm glad that you guys came to the right spot. That kind of threw me. I forgot about our journey through the U.S. South, which was kind of amazing. It was called Wheels of Justice, but that's not what I wanted to talk to you about tonight. So I did go to Standing Rock. It was the middle of September, and I just want to give you a 3-minute recap of what that was like. Because I think we're going to hear a little bit more current information about someone that's been to Standing Rock, right? Okay, so that information will be probably quite different and more up to date than mine. We at First Congregational Church Old Lyme have had a 32-year friendship with some folks out at Greengrass, the Lakota of the Cheyenne River Reservation. And we got a call from our friend Winona about the first week in September. And she said, listen, we're all, out here at Standing Rock Reservation. We're calling ourselves the Water Protectors, and I've been cooking for weeks and weeks for a lot of people. I need some hands in the kitchen, and I need some supplies. And so within a week, we loaded down a minivan to the point that I thought was not that smart to drive, and it turns out I was right. We busted down about, 5 minutes onto our journey because it was riding so low, which was cool. It was loaded with supplies, and we headed out to Standing Rock for about 4 days. And what I expected was to arrive, find a bunch of people in tents, see a bunch of protests, and be directed where to go. I didn't really know what it would be like. But in light of the last couple of weeks, what I want to share with you today was the unbelievably beautiful experience that I had there, because there is a sense of community that our Lakota friends have not had for a very, very long time. And it was really moving. And while I hope that the protectors are able to stop the pipeline, I just want you to know that regardless of what happens, what has been reborn on Standing Rock will continue to grow and will continue to spread. And it is a stunning global community loaded with love. Loaded with love. It's an amazing experience. So what I'm sure of that they need right now, and what they're at least going to need through the winter and probably into the spring, are feet on the ground. So if any one of you or anyone that you know has the opportunity to go out there, well, I did ask myself about the fossil fuel cost of driving a vehicle out there, and I kind of struggled with that. It's totally worth it, because the value that you bring as more feet on the ground and more friendship and more love into that community is really phenomenal. So I just want to tell you really quickly about my friend Winona. Winona comes from Cheyenne River Reservation, from a little community called Greengrass. Her uncle, Arvel Looking Horse, is the keeper of the sacred pipe for the Lakota people, and he asked her in the middle of summer, hey, I need to go up for a meeting in Standing Rock, and I'd like you to come with me for the ride. It's about a 2-hour ride. So Winona said sure. On their way up, they stopped at Cannonball, where just outside of Cannonball on the reservation, where the first small camp was made. And it was about 8 tents and a teepee and a bunch of elderly women. And so they stopped. They noticed that there was no coffee on the fire, and Uncle Arvel asked if Winona would stay and make coffee while he went on to the meeting. He came back from that meeting with the tribal leaders of Standing Rock Reservation, and he said, Winona, I'm sorry, but you're not coming home with me. They need you to stay here through the winter. And so that's what she did. Yes, Uncle, happy to do it, happy to serve my people. And she has since been there cooking and feeding everybody that comes through, everybody, all the volunteers, all the protectors, all the protesters from all over the place. And just a couple of days ago, there's actually an article about her in the New York Times, an article about food at Standing Rock, and Winona is highlighted there, so I encourage you to check it out. But what the piece that I want to share with you about this incredible sense of love and community is that Winona was more than happy to stay, and she was more than happy to feed and to help with this handful of elders. By the time that my friends Stephanie and Maddie and I rolled in, there were 5,000 people there. There were hundreds of teepees and a few thousand tents. There's corrals with horses. There's people from all over the globe walking around in community, just finding things to do. Now, we had arrived just days after President Obama had requested that there be a halt to construction, so there was really no protesting occurring at that time. And so our job was just to sit and to be in community with our friends and with people that might stop by our fire. So we cooked for 4 days straight. We visited other little camps. So there's a main camp, and then there's lots of little camps set up around the site, if you will. And it's people visiting with one another. But what I found so beautiful is there were 4 generations of people. So there were old folks, and there were young children. That many of whom had known each other for some time, many of whom were related somehow, and lots who never had met. But they were all working towards a common goal, and part of that common goal, in addition to what you know, stopping the pipeline, the other part of that common goal was resurrecting a way of life. And that way of life is just existing in community with those around you. And so in Greengrass, on the Cheyenne River Reservation, there's lots of distance between friends and family. Distance enough that a broken down car or a lack of gas is too great a hurdle to bring people together. And in this case, all they have to do is walk. And they're in community, and they're together, and their strength and their love and their prayers are growing. So it's a really phenomenal thing. So I just want you to know that while the news is kind of depressing, I guess, as it always is, but particularly for me, looking at Standing Rock and looking at the violence and looking at the struggle that occurs, that love is still there, and that love and community will continue to grow. So please, if you have a chance, go out. If you do, look for Winona. Everybody knows her. She's behind the main kitchen, and tell her that Mary from Old Lyme has sent you. She will feed you. She will keep you warm, and you will meet some amazing people that are reigniting a really fantastic lifestyle. So head out. Thanks.
I would like to introduce now, before we do our Q&A, which I'm very excited about, I'd like to introduce Mark Colville. I mentioned earlier his background, and he just got back from Standing Rock, and please join us.
Thanks. First of all, my apologies for coming in late, and I was fascinated by what you had to say, what I heard of it, and I certainly don't want to change the focus from questions that I'm sure everybody has for our speaker. But anyway, and I thank you for inviting me to give like a quick little pep talk on Standing Rock. Actually, the reason I was late is I just came from the Yale Law School. This is in parentheses here. And they've just come out with this year-long study that they did on the criminalization of homelessness in Connecticut. I highly recommend it. Talk to me later about how you can get a copy of this, but it's something that really should be wrestled with by New Haven residents. Yeah, thanks to a good community, a good circle of friends here, my daughter Soli and I were able to go out there to Standing Rock, and we were there for about 2 weeks and just got back on Monday evening. And you know, I just briefly that it's you know, it's clearly like it's sort of the beachhead in the war against dirty oil right now. You know, it's the beachhead that we have to take. We have to you know, we have to stop dirty oil there. And thanks to the leadership and the courage of the Native communities there that first of all converged there to stop DAPL. We have a chance to do that, and as everybody knows how much support throughout the country has been coming for the stopping of that $3.5 billion crime. It's a place where so many of the issues that are important to us kind of converge, or intersect. The environmental justice and climate change, obviously. Also, the racism and the structural racism and how that is played out literally right there on the outside of this camp where they're trying to stop this project. It was as a white person going there, not as a leader, but as somebody going to learn. It was a transformative experience to see racism played out, in the beating and the macing and the rubber bullets being shot at people of color there. Whereas, and of course, me and several other friends were involved in an act of civil disobedience at the state capitol, trying to address the governor, who's so much to blame for this project going forward in his state, and we were arrested and under very different circumstances, almost like a choreography, with the police being polite and all of that, and this was directly on the heels of having witnessed people from the reservation going across the river nonviolently and being pelted with rubber bullets and mace and kicked into the freezing waters and such. So it's a place. As you know, there's a national call for folks to go out there. The trip is a little daunting, but it's well worth it once you get there. There's a real sense of community, and there's sort of a spiritual ground there, which I think gives rise to kind of a hope that can be sorely missing, or in short supply on some of the issues that we work on, particularly when it comes to fighting big oil. So I guess to get an injection of hope, go there, and there's an international presence. There's just a great process going on there from which we in our local communities could really benefit and learn a lot from and implement here. I'm sure there's things that we can do locally if we can't go there, including addressing the banks that are funding this monstrosity. Some of our banks that are in our community we need to get our money out of. But above all, if you can, or if you can help somebody else get there, this is a critical time for that to happen. So, particularly the word was that through the winter, they expect the numbers of people there at the camp are going to dwindle. It's a pretty harsh winter up there, so we need to do everything we can locally to help people get out there and to extend our solidarity in concrete ways with them all. So, anyway, thank you, and I'm happy to talk to anybody afterwards.